Okay, we're live. Hooray.
Yay.
So while people, start finding it and whatnot, how's everyone doing today?
Doing well.
Good, good. I'm tired. Not as tired as Catriona, though. It's just like midday tiredness for me.
Yeah, when my first alarm went off, I was like, oh, it's a weekend. Why did I set alarms this early? And then I almost ignored it. I was like, no, way.
Oh, no. I'm glad you didn't ignore it. That's good.
Well, I have to set alarms every 5 minutes for an hour till I actually wake up. So there was plenty of time for me to realize.
Oh, I see. Yeah, my sister's like that too. She sets way a lot of alarms. For me, I only set one, but then I usually snooze it.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Yeah, that's how I like to do it. So, all right. So today's live show is about Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. This was the October book of the month for the Sassy Book Club. And this, what month is next month? This month is November. November's book of the month is A Very Large Expansive Sea by Tahara Mafi. And we are live showing about that on December 14th. I don't remember the time, though. I think it's actually in the description of this video. Let me real quick go down here. No, it's not. Darn it. But it's on December 14th at a time, and I will get that information. The information will be on the Sassy Book Club Twitter, so you guys can check that out if you're interested. I don't have a December book of the month yet, but it is getting to be that time where I'll start posting polls on the Sassy Book Club Twitter, so if you want to vote for those, you're more than welcome to. You should go follow Sassy Book Club on Twitter and things. So, Vengeful is the sequel to Vicious. So, just right off the bat, I want to say to everyone watching that if you haven't read Vicious, I probably wouldn't watch this live show. We'll do a non-spoiler bit, at least for Vengeful part, and then we'll go into full-blown spoilers and we'll warn for that. But if you haven't read Vicious, I don't know. I just would rather you guys don't watch it and don't get spoiled, because that book is really good and you should go read it.
So good.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. How did you guys feel about this sequel? What were your ratings, and plug your channels and all that good stuff?
Do we have an order or just like?
Oh, sure. Let's do Wulfie, Becky, and
You broke up a little. Okay, cool.
All right. I put it in the little the chat thing. So Wulfie, channel name, star rating, non-spoiler opinion.
Okay. My channel is Silly Little Ravenclaw, and I rated this book 3 out of 5 stars.
Okay.
I wasn't big on it. I guess I had really high expectations of it, so.
Gotcha. Didn't live up.
No.
What about you, Becky?
Hi, I'm Becky. I am from Coffee, Cocktails, and Books, and I literally just finished this one, so I haven't officially given it a rating, but I'm leaning towards a 4-ish. I liked Vicious better, but I did enjoy this one. I liked the new characters. I wish that we had more of our old characters, and the ending has me intrigued if there's going to be another book or if they just kind of left it open or not.
Mm-hmm.
I actually saw V.E. Schwab was answering some questions on her Instagram, and one of them was, is there going to be any more books? And she's like, nothing at the moment. If I did write anything, it'd be in another 5 years type thing.
Okay.
So I think she's left it open for her to
play around in the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, hello, I'm Kaz from the channel Little Book Owl, and I finished this one last night, so it's still quite fresh. I'm leaning towards a 4.5. I liked it probably just as much as Vicious, but for different reasons, I suppose. But yeah, overall, also really liked the new characters. Again, we're sad we didn't get to see more of the old characters, particularly Sydney, I think. But yeah, it was still really fun.
I'm Cassie. You're here on my channel, so if you haven't hit subscribe yet, you should do so. I give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I liked it. I really liked it, and I did really think it was good. But I also I wanted more. I don't know. I think okay, we can get more into this later, but the thing that I loved so much about Vicious is that both of our main characters are not 100% good or 100% evil. And so I did really like in this book some more of that Eli background. I really liked how they delved into that. But some of the other characters felt very like 100% evil or good. And it just was more of that like stark good and bad in this book. And so I was just like, no, this is why I loved Vicious so much. And you're doing the things that I didn't like, that I still like. It's just not what I wanted from this series. So that was my 1 star.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Okay, so still in a non-spoiler section. Okay, who was your favorite character, new or old? Or maybe one favorite new and one favorite old. And if you guys have it, you can just go not in a specific order.
I think that my favorite character was Sydney. It was Mitch, except I wanted so much more. But Sydney, I really liked the parts that we got with her. And I really liked June for the new character. I thought that she was really interesting. Also, Mystique is my favorite X-Men, so little biased.
You exactly reminded me of Mystique. That was a perfect X-Men like parallel. Ooh, I hadn't thought of that. That's amazing. Anyone else?
I kind of agree, actually. I also really loved Mitch, and again, we didn't get too much from him here. And then with Sydney, I was like the whole chunk of the middle part of the book, we didn't see too much of her, which I was really sad about.
Wait, what's the sound that we're hearing?
Is that your computer, Wulfie?
It could be, yeah.
Oh no. Okay, it went away. I just don't want. I want everyone to be able to hear what everyone's saying, so don't talk over it if it happens again.
But yeah, I think I kind of agree with my one of the old characters I really love was Sydney. But yeah, I was sad that like throughout the whole middle part of the book, she just wasn't there. I was like, when's she coming back? And then she did come back towards the end, and I really liked how she contributed to the story that way. And I also really liked June. She was just such a mysterious character, and I still have so many questions about her and her EO ability. And she was just so interesting. And again, like I did really like Marcella, but I agree that she was like kind of all evil type thing, which is probably the one thing that I didn't love as much. But she was super interesting. Okay, they're all just so interesting.
They all really are. Like even the cop, the what's his name, Stell. Yeah, like even he's really fascinating, and I almost want more of his background. Like, how did he get into the EO stuff? Because not everyone in the police believe that it's true. Like, there's a bunch of people who are like super skeptical. So, what was Stell's like? When did that line change for him? Like, was he always a 100% believer,
or was it Victor and Eli that kind of
like when did that switch happen? I really wish we could have delved into some of Stell's background. My favorite of the old characters in this book was Eli, because one, I really loved getting all that background information that we'll for sure go into when we hit spoiler section. I loved all of that information of getting all of this, like how did Eli become who Eli is today? Fascinating. And sad, but fascinating. And then my favorite new character was also probably June, because so interesting. But at the same time, I was left like, we don't really find out anything about her. Like, we don't delve into who she is. We just get those little snippets, and that's really it. We never get like the full picture of who June was before she was June, I guess. Because that's not even her real name and like all this stuff. We don't ever really get a lot. So I was just like, I want more.
Yeah, because with a lot of the characters, we go into like quite a few chapters exploring their histories and how they came to be the person that they are today. And we see like a little bit of things with June, but really not much.
Yeah, it's very hidden, very very in the back of the closet. So
there's also one thing with June that I'll wait till we get to spoiler section because I don't know if it is or not, but there's something I'm still wondering about that I wish was explored more. But
okay, well, let's just do that then. Now is the time. We're going to go into spoilers. So if you're watching this and you haven't read Vengeful and you don't want to be spoiled, you need to click off now and hit subscribe. And then when you read it, you can come back and watch the video later. And so yeah, we're going to go into spoilers. So leave if you haven't read it. Or if you don't care about being spoiled, I guess you can stay. But I recommend going and reading the book. I'm just saying. That's my recommendation. Okay, Becky, what were you going to say?
June and Sydney's relationship. Was that just friends? Was that potentially something more? Was it more familial? Or like, I feel like that was left pretty ambiguous, and I really would love if that was explored more, like the desires, especially with June's EO abilities. I thought that would be so much fun to explore that more. And like, because there's sometimes there's like, oh, they're like totally in a relationship, or like one that could potentially form, and there's other ones where it's like, oh no, it's just friends, and I would have liked more from that.
That's really interesting. I never read that as romantic. I read it as a replacement of Serena for Sydney. And I don't know what June was getting out of that relationship, but it didn't feel sexual or romantic in my head when I was reading them. It felt very much like sister, like little, in June's perspective, like, oh, little sister that I need to protect. And for Sydney, it felt like I lost my big sister, and now I have the new big sister, and there she is.
Like, I get that from the Sydney side, but from the June, I think it was that whole bit where she's like keeping her from Marlena and kind of like keeping that like she's mine and I want her separate. I think that's where I like was wondering if it is just a familial friendship, or if it's more like even like a potential romantic interest.
That's what I got from June's side as well, actually.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. I was
not get it at all.
but at the same time, I was like going back and forth because like, oh, maybe it is like maybe I'm just reading into it, because obviously nothing really comes of it in that way. But that was something that I was like, ooh, interesting.
Maybe I never read it that way, because even though we do get those scenes where like Sydney talks about her age and like how she is older, but like she still looks like a child. And so maybe I was just like, there's no such thing as sexual feelings in this 12-year-old, even though she is 18.
Yeah, well, that was another thing that I was like, that would be really weird. But also, June doesn't see Sydney for the longest time as well.
Yeah.
Like, well, there's like a year where she sees her again, and then there would have been a little while longer after that. But at the same time, I was like, that would be very weird if she, like, obviously she knows how old she is, but physically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, such an interesting like topic to bring up. I'm actually kind of glad V. Schwab didn't, delve. She maybe hinted at things, but she didn't like try to go there, because it could easily have gotten real weird. So those of you guys watching, just so you know, if you have any questions that you want us to talk about, you're more than welcome to ask them in the little chat there on the bottom under the live show. We love hearing your questions. But okay, I want to talk about Marcella. Because she's fascinating, even though, like I said, I was really struggling with this book, because the first one, you have these two bad and two good guys all at once, because you just kind of have to decide whose side are you on to decide who's the good and who's the bad. And in this book, Marcella is like very much just, she wants to create havoc and wants ultimate power and like all this stuff. So how do you guys feel about her? Because I have mixed feelings.
I thought that opening scene with her, like the first chapter of the book, was amazing. I loved that. I was excited to see how that was going to play in. And then as she went on, I kind of the same. I didn't like how absolute it was. Also, I feel like she didn't really have any motives other than women's scorn. Like, I would have really liked it if she wanted, like, if she had a clear motive. Like, Eli in the first book had a clear motive. He wanted to get rid of the EOs because he thought that they were unnatural. Victor had a clear motive. Everyone, my dog's pulling my headphones, sorry. like all of them had a clear motive, but for her, I felt like it was just, I'm powerful and I'm pretty and now I can do it on my own. It's like I just wanted a bit more, but she was still super fun.
I completely agree with everything you're saying. All of my feelings exactly put into words.
Like, I feel like if this was like a live action movie, she would be like kind of hamming it up, but like in a good way, as opposed to the other ones which are like cool, calculating James Bond-y, and she's like, here I am.
Yeah, you know that, what's that movie? Uma Thurman is in it, and her boyfriend breaks up with her and she becomes a superhero, and then all she's doing is like fucking with him the entire time because he broke up with her. I want to say it's called My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, but that's a new TV show, and I don't know if it's the same thing. But it's something along those lines, and Uma Thurman is in it.
The only thing we might is Kill Bill, but I know that's wrong.
No, it's not that one because I've never seen that movie, so I know it's not that. Let me look it up real quick. I'm going to check on IMDb. I think it was that movie. There's a scene where she, like, rips a wall of his apartment. My super ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Not my crazy ex-girlfriend. My super ex-girlfriend.
I remember that.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And Luke Wilson is in it. Forgot him. But that movie was the epitome of Marcella. I was like, oh, if this movie was put into a book, it would be her. Except she's also like looking for power herself, not just for revenge, but also very much revenge in the beginning. And I was a little bit like, I just choked on my spit. I was hoping that the story of Marcella was either going to, the main climax was going to be her getting her revenge, because I did like that revenge plot that we started off with against her husband, because, man, that scene when he kills her was horrifying. Yeah. And, like, I did love that was, but then we got there, we got it, it was done, and I was like, oh, well, now what?
Yeah, I was surprised by how quickly that happened.
Yeah.
And even when she was saying she wished that she could have drawn it out as well, everything just seemed to happen so quickly. And then it, like, up until that point, I was really fascinated by her story. But then I agree, after that, it just kind of became about her power. And she's just all consumed about becoming the most powerful person in Merit. And then, yeah, she just kept killing people who annoyed her. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was
just a villain right here.
Exactly. It was like the Hades, like, like Hercules, Hades. I mean, it's such a stereotype, I guess, or like an archetype that I just didn't expect in this particular story. Because I like villains like that too in some books. I guess it just wasn't what I wanted from this story. So I was being particular, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, kind of going off of that, I was a little confused in this book how the powers and the abilities worked. Because I feel like half of our EOs were able to expand and grow their powers, Sydney, Marcella, etc. But the other half were like, no, this is it. You have this and you cannot do anything else with this. So I feel like because we did not know really how much they worked, her goal to be the most powerful felt a little more wish fulfillment than like an actual possibility, because we didn't know if she could actually grow and expand it, or if it's like, let me just get rid of the competition, now I'm the most powerful.
I really liked the way, talking about like the expansion, I really liked the plot of like Sydney trying to learn how to make her power better. And okay, I feel like I'm shitting on this book this entire live show, but I really did enjoy it. I really did like it. But like, for Sydney's story, we're watching her like try to, enhance her power so that she can bring back more with less stuff. And I knew in the back of my mind that she was probably trying to bring Serena back, because she does mention Serena's bones and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was hoping that it would be her that fixed the problem with Victor. Like,
me too.
I was hoping she was going to be that was going to go full circle, and I was disappointed that Dr. Haverty is the fix. Ew.
I know. Rude. Yeah, because that was one of the questions I had. I was like, because she always talks about how she finds like their life threads when she's bringing them back. And I was like, is the one that she missed with Victor gone, or is it just lost?
Right,
So
it's
like,
still there.
during one of his episodes when he's dead, maybe she could have like tried to gather the whole of him or something, or I don't know. Like if she still like touched him now, would she be able to feel it? Because she can constantly feel the threads. So maybe she could, yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Especially when
that
she
was
had
exactly what I wanted.
Yes, especially because there's that part where she's like, I'm following the thread situation.
Yes.
I'm like, ooh, where are we going? Also, can we talk about, they were giving me anxiety with Doll. Like, there was one too many times. I'm like, I'm fragile. I'm still coming off of everything that happened at the end of September. And I'm like, I can't go through this again.
Yeah, I know. No animal harm, please. Just stop with the animals.
I know.
Yeah. I know. Doll is such a like nice addition to the story, having just this like completely innocent being around. I just love it. And like Mitch, I just love Mitch. Mitch is my favorite character. We could have a book about Mitch. I'd be happy about it.
I would love a prequel Mitch background story so much.
And I even love that we did get some of his background. Like they talked about his bad luck and stuff. And I like was so into those chapters. Like, just tell me all of it.
I was wondering if his bad luck was just more than a weird case of wrong place, wrong time, or if it actually was an EO ability in of itself, just because of how much like they played with it and the way he talked about it in the first and this book. I'm like, because like he's like was able to sense it, and then all these things happen, and I'm like, is it actually something? Or
did he have a near-death experience when he was really young, and his power just really sucks?
No, but June was able to touch him and basically grab
so
his
not an EO
body.
Yeah, that was an interesting concept too, that she couldn't do that to other EOs. That was really interesting. Okay, we need to talk about Eli.
Yes.
We need to, that's my opening. What do you guys think?
I liked his backstory because my biggest issue with Vicious, I'm like, why do you have this righteous attitude about everything? Why? And like my biggest issue was like, I don't hate your motive. I just don't know why you have it. So I loved that now we know why he has it. I thought that was I liked it. Like it was brutal and heart-wrenching, but so compelling. I liked it.
It could have been just a book about just a prequel of Eli's life, and I think I would have been 100% happy with it. I loved those parts, and I loved. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to agree, but I was going to say that I kind of wish that we got his backstory in Vicious, because we do delve into so many characters' backstories in Vengeful in a lot of depth. So like the first half of the book, we're just going, okay, now we're looking at Sydney, now we're looking at Marcella, now we're looking at Eli and stuff like that. And I kind of wish that we got Eli's before. So we
because we did
move the story along faster.
I think we got Victor's in the first book.
We got his parents were the self-help gurus and that he hates them.
Yeah, maybe they didn't go into it as
much detail. And like in the first one, we got a little, like a chapter of Mitch's history and stuff like that. I kind of wish that we dealt more, because one of the issues I had with Vicious is like I didn't understand people's motives. I didn't understand why they did the things they did, and I just wanted more backstory there. And I feel like Vengeful was trying to fix a bit of that. And help us understand.
Yeah, man. Eli is the most fascinating character in the first book too. Like his motives and stuff. I mean, obviously the story is extreme. You've got superpowers and you have, murder. But there are people out there with staunch beliefs like that make them think certain things. Like there are people like that. He's not too far off the spectrum, other than the fact that he's murdering people. That's obviously extreme. But like,
I mean, we have people like that too, though.
Yeah, there are people like that. But they're like on a smaller, more natural scale, there are still people with such intense beliefs that make them do or think things due to their beliefs. And so I found him extremely fascinating in the first book, and then getting his background of his childhood and some of the trauma in that, I was just like mind blown. I was so happy to have it. And that was the best part of the book to me, was getting Eli's background. And then also like, because I feel like it doesn't redeem him. And so it's still he kind of is rethinking his motives and stuff in this book, which maybe is redeeming, but it doesn't redeem him as far as like, oh, well, now we know why he's such a horrible person, so he's okay now. He's still a horrible person, but it's just so fascinating to get that background.
I also loved how his motivation was not that all EOs are bad. It's like, no, these ones are bad because they're natural, but they're also destructive. Mine is not destructive, and like that, like whole
that mindset is crazy.
Especially with Serena. And this first one,
he hated her too, but he couldn't figure out how to kill her because, man, her power was fascinating too. I'm really sad that she was dead because
I did like though that V. Schwab made us that way. These powers did not turn to plot conveniences. Like, no, June can't turn into other EOs, and no, Serena was killed off. So that way, like, she didn't turn into like a Deus Machina. Like, she at least made it that these convenient EO abilities never went to the part of like copping out for the sake of the plot, and I really have to commend her for that.
With the exception of how they finally killed Eli.
Yeah, that I was about to get to that. I'm like, with the exception of the X-Men Last Stand effect.
Yeah, man, that was so okay. We can start talking about Dr. Haverty because he was also a fascinating character to me, and I'm really sad that he wasn't in it more. The second we met him, I was like, oh, here's our villain. Here he is. I'm ready. And then it was not at all our villain.
Yeah, because again, like with his motivations, it wasn't like, I must like destroy all these EOs. He was like, for the sake of science, he wanted to learn. Like he wanted to find the secrets of the universe in this area type thing. And then we get that. I was annotating my book, and there was like at one point where I was like, is he going to pop up again? Because there was that scene with him capturing the EO Nick. And then it just kind of disappears, and he only pops up again when he comes in and kills Eli. And I was like, but what about between then? Like,
right.
What is...
I was hoping we were going to get small snippets of him experimenting. Like,
like does he does he capture a few of them? Was it just Nick or just Eli's like blood that he had in his wrist type thing that helped? Like, I wanted to know.
I was really sad that he didn't become, like, the second that he got fired out, I was like, oh, now here he's going to start his villainy, because I mean, he's not going to be an evil for the sake of evil, but that type of scientific evil, scary to me.
Add to that the rage of being like fired.
Yeah, exactly. I was so hopeful, and then it didn't ever like bring to the come to that.
I agree so much that I forgot about him until he showed up. I'm like, oh, that's right.
Oh no, puppies. Lost the headphones.
Sorry about that.
You forgot about him, Becky?
Yeah, like I kind of forgot about him. It's like when he showed up again, I agree. I think that he would have been really interesting to have that like compelling motive, because also it's so believable if it was like to learn more, and it's like this really interesting ideology that also like as a psych major, like that kind of altruistic evil I think is so fascinating. So I don't know. I think that would have been fun to explore him more. Yeah. And compared to also who, like, especially if Marcella was almost like a red herring villain and he's like sprinkled in there just enough. And so we think that she's it. It's like, oh no, she's like a test subject or something. I thought like something like that would have been so fun.
Yeah, it could have been so cool. Not to say I didn't like it. Obviously, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I feel like I'm being horrible to this book, but
this is all that 1 star. This is all that 1 star.
Yeah, it still was good. Yeah. Man.
Yeah. Like, and with Marcella as well, with like the ending, like we got to see so much of her towards the start, and I feel like as it was leading up to the climax, we kind of went less into her mind and we followed more of June. So we didn't like see a lot of the things that Marcella was doing, like how she found out about Sydney and Mitch, and like how all that happened. So she became kind of more in the background almost.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, even though she was like such a big opponent for Victor and Eli, she just kind of like went into the background a little bit for me. So I felt a little bit disappointed with like her presence in the story just before she died.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Like what you mentioned this, I think you just said it. Like, how did she find out about everything?
Yes.
Like, how did she find out about Sydney? Like, we finally get everyone in a room together, I think. Or, well, June comes back from her trip from supposedly finding Victor. And then Marcella just, bless you, Marcella just mentions, sorry. Marcella just like casually mentions Sydney, and June, you know, is scared because she doesn't want Marcella to know. And I was like, wait, we could have had that scene. So it makes me wonder, like, it makes me wonder how much like editing went in, how much got cut. Like, did V.E. Schwab have a bigger picture, and then the editors did this to it? You know, because I know, I mean, like, when she originally wrote Vicious, if I remember correctly, she did originally want this to be a at least more than a one book series, but the publishing company was like, oh no, we're not going to pick that up. Is that what happened? I think that's what happened.
Oh, I can't even remember.
I think so. And then finally they were like, hey, want a sequel? And then she was like,
no, I definitely agree, because there was like that scene, and then there was one other one, now I can't remember which one it was, where it felt like I feel like I missed a chapter. Like, so when I was listening to the audiobook, I went back a little bit. I'm like, I didn't miss anything, right? So it was like, okay, no, it's just they neglected to tell us this really important plot detail that is part getting the whole cast together. But okay.
Yeah, it was, some of it was really, I don't know, like, it just felt like we were missing some things, but then on other things they were so fleshed out. So I think maybe it was like the dichotomy of like, this stuff is all super fleshed out, and then some of the other stuff was very quickly, or it felt maybe a little rushed. So then it was like,
I don't know. Yeah, just especially since like the comparison, because like the first thing we see in this book is Marcella, so it feels like she was going to be such a big part of it, and then she just kind of like drifts off into the background and becomes a bit of an enigma, and like just like more into that supervillain role within the story.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, definitely supervillain role.
I think kind of going off of that is, I don't entirely get what Victor's motives were for killing all the EOs that he came across. Like, I get part of it was like a paper trail thing, but I also feel like you can just say, forget my face, torture, 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 gone situation. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess like just knowing because of the whole first book and the whole like, you're killing them, that's bad, and he does it with like little explanation as to why. It's like, I figured that was coming up later, but I don't know, that also could just be me.
I really wanted to see more of like him being feeling guilty about it. Like, we do see a little bit of it. I remember there is a good part where he's in his head thinking to himself, and he says something like, I'm not like Eli, this is a means to an end, not the goal, or like, I don't want to be killing them, it's just I have to.
But then so like
rational.
But then Stell or someone describes him as the new Eli type thing, and I was like, he's really not succeeding in his
right, exactly. But I know I was disappointed with it, but
and I also feel like his reasoning so he wouldn't get caught, but like leaving a trail of bodies is
still
to like raise concerns, and doing it in the same way, just really methodical. Like, Eli figures it out so quickly, and Marcella and June figure it out so quickly. So like it didn't seem like the smartest move.
Yeah, it was very odd
for the purpose.
For the purpose, and it didn't feel character driven. Like, it didn't feel like it was what he would have wanted to do.
Even because originally he didn't kill them after.
Right. Yeah, true. I don't know. So weird.
I just feel that was like such a weird character choice, especially because of the entirety of the first book.
Yeah, like that's why he hates Eli so much.
And then I also felt like some of them like would have been such an asset for him to have, even like on standby, that the way that he does with the guy whose name I'm forgetting.
The one with the pain.
The D guy. Yeah, him. Like, he at least, like, it would have been so much more interesting if Victor had all these people on standby. Like, hey, I'm looking for this, I'm doing this. If you have them almost like you can call upon them or whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that would have made more sense. And it's like, yeah, there's more people and like more chances for someone to betray you, but like at the same time, you like your EO ability is literally the ability to torture, so maybe not.
But then again, I do have to say that doesn't feel like in character for Victor either, because realistically, Victor doesn't even like that Mitch and Sydney are around.
True.
Like
That's fair.
In an ideal world, he doesn't want to have people. Like he wants to be on his own, because his fear is that not only does he not necessarily trust them, but also that he will end up hurting them. And so he like wishes he could leave Sydney and Mitch all the time. Like throughout the book, he's always wishing that he had the strength to leave them or whatever. So
and then at the end he did, but that hurt.
Yeah. I knew he was going to. I mean, the second that was where it was headed, I was like, oh, so you're gonna ditch them. It was very sad.
I'm just happy that Mitch and Sydney are still together and they came out okay. Like that dichotomy is just one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I love their friendship. I love like watching like the card game that Mitch made up and all of that. Like, and him realizing that like, oh, I guess I should be teaching you stuff. So I guess I gotta figure out how to teach you stuff.
Yeah, I love that part. Like, I didn't go to school either, but I'm smart too. Like that. I'm just like, you are. It's so sweet. No, I like that.
Mitch.
His heart. If we got like an anthology of short stories of just like Sydney and Mitch's like endeavors.
Yes. While Victor's off doing whatever he's doing, just like, what were Mitch and Sydney doing that in? Yes. Love it.
Okay. You could just be watching movies or learning math. I would read it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, what was everyone's least favorite scene and then favorite scene? Because I want to end on a good note.
Least favorite scene was
not necessarily least favorite like disappointing, but least favorite like, ow, that hurt.
Oh, ow, that hurt. Ow, that hurt was anything with me worrying about Dole's well-being. Or like also like least favorites like was that last scene with like Eli. I felt like that could have been way cooler. Favorite was the lake scene with Sydney, and she's kind of like exploring and kind of like coming to terms with everything, and then any scene with her and Mitch. And that were great.
Favorite, I love the scene where Sydney like sneaks out to go to like a Halloween party, and when she comes back, Victor is sleeping on the couch, and then like a minute after she goes into her room, Victor walks back to his room.
So cute.
Like he'd just simply been waiting for her to come home. So I really loved that. And then things I was actually really, really upset by Dominic's death. And I really started to like him. Yeah. Like, I really grew to love him in this story. And I, like, obviously he doesn't have quite the same relationship with Victor as, like, Sydney and Mitch do. He's kind of more of a weapon for Victor. But I really liked getting to see more of him in here. And that was really sad. Especially since he kind of, like, jumped in front of Victor and, like, the bullets that go, whew.
I think I blocked that scene from my memory because I didn't remember it until just now. One of the scenes that made me angry was when June drugs Sydney, and I was like, that's brutal. And she's like, you'll forgive me, you'll understand. And I was like, no, Sydney's not gonna forgive you for that, not easily anyway. Yeah, no.
Like, you've betrayed her. Like, she was betrayed by her sister, and now she's got this really close friend who's come in and betrayed her again.
Yeah, horrible.
Yeah.
What about you, Wulfie?
I don't really feel like shitting all over it, so I'm not going to talk about least favorite scenes. But my favorite scene is like literally anything with Sydney in it. So
Sydney.
Like, that's the only parts I really liked. So
nice.
Oh,
at least there was Sydney.
How we can get more of her.
I know. I wanted her to be like more involved, I guess.
Same, because there was a point where I was really worried that she wasn't going to be really active in it, and she was just like, we learn a little bit more about her, but then she wasn't going to do anything. And like the part where she sneaks out, I was like, please don't like her sneaking out be the cause of so much drama later on. I was like, this could be such a bad decision, but luckily she comes in and like it was fine. But I was just like really worried with where her plot was going.
Yeah. I was like, oh no, she's gonna get taken by Eon or something. Like, no.
Used to lure Victor. Like, I was
exactly. I was very concerned, but I just that scene. It's so like innocent in a sense. Like it's just so natural in her teenagehood of dealing with the fact that she's 18 in general, but then also 18 and doesn't look it. And like just wants to have a normal life. I just loved that scene so much.
Oh, and the birthday party scene, her 18th birthday. That was so sweet.
Yeah. So good.
That scene was so sweet between like the presents that they give her and like putting the birthday cake out there. That was too precious.
That was really nice.
Even the bird. I mean, like it was weird, but
I know. I loved how it played into it though. Like when he first gave it to her, I was like,
what does that mean?
Okay. But like I loved how it eventually played back into later on, but it also didn't feel like shoehorned in. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so did anybody read the Barnes and Noble special edition, whatever, has a scene that's not actually in the book? Did anyone else read it?
That's in the UK one. It was about like learning about Rios.
Yeah. Did anyone else read it?
The audiobook did not include that, so no.
It's just a quick little scene. Give you a real quick synopsis of it. Rios is the one who finds, oh God, what's his name? Dominic, right?
He can walk through walls.
Yeah, she finds Dominic in the room that when he's trying to hack into Stell's computer. And he says, how did you get in here? Because he was staring at the door and there was only one door. And so obviously there's like a thought that she might be an EO, but I don't think that there's ever actual evidence in the book that she is one. The scene that's in the end of the book is showing you her near-death experience and then the fact that she can walk through walls. That's her thing. So talking about her, my least favorite scene was that she's the one that found him because of the fact that there was in the actual book, there was never a scene to give you any explanation for how she did it. It was left very open-ended unless you read that scene that's not actually in the book. It's a special edition scene. So that's my least favorite thing. And it was just like, that should have been in the story at whether before or after that scene. If you wanted to create the confusion initially, sure. But you should have given us that explanation in the story, I felt.
Yeah, because it raised a lot of questions because I was like, if she's an EO, does Stell know? Is she keeping it a secret type thing? Or is there going to be like a conversation between Dominic and Rios, like about the fact that they're both EOs? Like I was very...
Right.
Yeah, it opened up so many questions and then you didn't get much until that little short story.
Right. And if that's not available to you because it's not actually a part of the book, then it's like, wait, what? So that's my least favorite thing. My favorite scene, I had so much time to think about this, guys. And now I can't decide. I think my favorite scene, okay, I know what my favorite scene was. My favorite scene is one of the flashbacks of Eli's life. And it's when he gets into his home with his cousins or whoever they are, his uncle and aunt.
Yeah.
I don't remember who they are, but they're the ones that are going to keep him before they die. How horrible. I was so angry.
Awful.
So angry. But they're like showing him the room or whatever. And then he says something along the lines of like, how long am I going to be here?
Yeah.
And the mom, the new mom, says, this is your home.
Yeah.
Like, just so blatantly like, what do you mean? How long are you going to be here? I cried. I was like, no, my heart. And then shortly after that, they are killed, and I was pissed. How dare they?
I was sad about that. Super sad.
That just reminded me of one bit that I actually wish that they explored more, and that was even before becoming an EO, Eli felt like he had like part of humanity that was missing, like how he always had to mirror other people's emotions, and yet that was his main motivation for killing EOs, that they're missing humanity. They're saying that he already was missing, so I thought that would have been really fun that got explored more. Like, I don't know.
He felt like he had sociopathic tendencies even before becoming an EO.
Yeah.
And then the EO and the God stuff of his past all put together creates this like reasoning that he can use to create something logical in his mind for murder. And oh man, Eli is fascinating. And if it wasn't in a superhero world, I feel like he still would have been fascinating given his history and like that idea and all that stuff. Ooh, I love Eli.
That is one thing I do like about this book. It's not the EO capabilities that were compelling, but they just added to why the characters are already compelling.
Yeah.
And I feel that's one reason why Marcella's like power trip thing felt so out of place, because everybody else never felt like they had this bit of, I need my power to be a focus. Like you have Cindy for a long time who wanted to like avoid using hers and didn't even want to like acknowledge she had it. You have June that like she has hers, but like she does it more as like almost like a protective mechanism. You have Eli who like justifies his as like a means to an end, and then you have Victor. It's like, well, it's here, and I'll use it to like get where I want, which is Eli or like a cure or whatever.
Himself. Yeah, exactly.
And then you have, so like I love that these characters were never defined by it, but like they kind of were, but like they tried really hard not to be. So like they blended in nicely. Also, the EO network or neutralization or whatever, I wonder how many EOs are actually in there, since we know of 2 that are infiltrated. Like, is it just half EOs saving face to save themselves by pretending to be the bad? Like, that I thought was really cool.
Well, especially since Rios, like, Stell hired her as an EO type thing. So I was wondering if because there was one point where he was talking about the fact that about EOs being like soldiers and maybe they'd still want to fight in the war type thing. So I was like, did he enlist more secretly type thing, or?
It felt to me like Eli is in this box being told that they're finding EOs and they're also being put in boxes. But what's really happening is they're getting hired to find other EOs to get them to be on their side. And it just so happens that Eli doesn't want to be on their side and has already proven himself to be a killer. So they're like, no, you get to be put in a box. But no one else is going to be put in a box.
Yeah, that was one of Stell's biggest struggles, like with the morality of it all and being ethical with Eon, essentially, and like not killing them unless absolutely necessary. And he fights it at every point. So it would make a lot of sense if he did try and use them, like bring them onto his side type thing.
Right. Yeah, Stell is so fascinating. I really loved that we didn't have like a Dr. Haverty personality in Stell. Like I loved that he's also just trying to do the right thing. He's just trying to be a good cop, trying to save people's lives and all that stuff.
And amidst all that, fighting the corporation who like that. Essentially.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. And I agree. I love that they brought him back, because in the first book he felt like just like your standard, the man. But like when you're like, oh no, he's not. He is the one fighting against the man. I thought that was so interesting and compelling.
Yeah, I loved his character development in this story.
I was really sad that Victor killed him though.
I know. Disappointing.
I get why.
Maybe he's not really dead.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I was expecting just more of a confrontation, like a final scene between the two, but not for Victor to actually come in to kill him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like for him to get saved somehow.
Yeah, like it kind of makes sense, but it just, damn.
Yeah, because he really is just also a good guy, even though he's hunting EOs. It's that's what's so fascinating about a lot of Victoria Schwab's characters, because some of them are good intentioned, even though they're maybe not doing the thing that the reader wants them to do, or they're bad intentioned, but they are on the what the reader wants them to do side.
Yeah.
When
I was actually, there was a point where, like, I don't think it would have been totally believable in Victor's point, but I thought that when he was going back to Stell, he was going to offer up Dr. Haverty's serum in a trade if he was able to use, like, Stell's, like, facilities to produce more of the serum.
Oh.
That would have been interesting.
I thought that's where he was going to go with that. So he could have, like, a lifetime supply, but actually work with Stell in a different way and come to some sort of agreement.
That would have been interesting.
I was wondering, I mean, I know we did get a little bit of the fact that he's like trying to figure out how to make more. But I was like, what's going to happen in, I don't know, 10 years or even 5 years or whatever when you run out?
Well, then that's the next book.
Yeah, true. That is true. Okay, so a long time ago, Becky was talking about how the characters weren't defined by their superpowers, and I just wanted to mention the EO that I can't remember his name, but he's the one that has the protective power.
John? Something like that?
Yeah, Jonathan.
Jonathan? Okay. Yeah, I found him really sad and like interesting because he can't kill himself, but he wants to. And so his power is like destroying his ability to do what he wants, but then like also don't kill
It's his
yourself.
wife like protecting him after the fact, and that whole when he thought that it was his wife's spirit almost was really devastating.
It was very sad. Did he end up dying, or did he not end up dying?
He did, because Victor basically just put all of his power into him and eventually it fractured and broke.
Yeah.
Kind of short-circuited it.
Right.
Another thing that I thought was interesting was when Eli was in the box, how he would talk to like a personification hallucination of Victor.
Yeah.
That I thought was such an interesting dynamic, just because we saw the entire first book of these two simultaneously hating and admiring each other to the point that like in his lowest moment, he still goes back to Victor. I thought that was cool. So when they were working together at the end, part of me almost wished that they would like reconcile and agree to like almost like a Professor Xavier and Magneto thing. Like we disagree, I don't like you at all, but live your life situation. Yeah. Like I'm sorry for all the X-Men comparisons, but like
no, but it's so comparison. I mean, even in the flap, it compares them. It says Magneto and Professor X, Superman and Lex Luthor, Sydney and Serena Clark, Victor Vale and Eli Ever. Like it's compared.
Because like the How to Make It EO reminded me of the scene in Deadpool where he's like it's superhero camp and like everything else. Like I was like, which X-Men movie can I compare the scene to?
Yes. Yes, completely.
I would have like almost liked it if they reconciled and like never like agree just because they both have done awful things, but agree that they both did awful things for their own version of good. I don't know. Like I know it's like against their character nature, but I also would have like low-key loved it.
There was a couple of moments where it felt like that's where it was going, because they did kind of work together. Like when Victor was like, do I go and kill Jonathan or do I let Marcella kill Eli type thing?
Yeah.
And obviously he decided to go get Jonathan. And they were just like with Dr. Haverty as well, they were kind of fighting against him together. And then, yeah, like I feel like it wouldn't have been believable if they let each other go off and live their lives, because like they're both so all consumed by destroying the other one.
Yeah.
But it would have been really interesting.
Yeah. That whole dynamic in that last scene with Victor and Eli essentially working together was so well done, I think. Just having them.
I did also like how June kind of taps into, is her name Alyssa? Eli's girlfriend that Victor had a thing for that died in the
Angie.
Like
Angie.
Angie, sorry. There's so many names.
Yeah, there are.
But like when June has like a rough personification of her and it's like the only girl you ever loved, I thought that was so interesting just because like it looks like their feud is really born off of her death, even though it was a genuine accident, but it was also like this god complex of I don't want him to surpass me. So I thought it was interesting that we got like a light callback to that. And I actually would like if there was like if that was explored more. Like I don't know how it could be without getting like to a level of redundancy, but just because like you saw Eli's first girlfriend was just like a means to an end, so it'd been interesting if Angie was also a means to an end or really a way for him to like have like a humanity like feeling. Because it was hinted in the first book as like Angie is like the only one that made Eli feel like he was like on a level playing field. And then like when she was gone that time when I don't know. I thought that was still interesting though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a couple of really random questions that popped up while I was reading the book. First of all, who like June is a hit woman, who was she hired by? And did they know she was an EO? Like, is there some network of assassins of EOs? Or
my question was, is she working for Eon, but the company?
But it seemed like that happened after. Like, it seemed like she'd been doing that for a long time.
True,
But
true,
that's
true.
what I was wondering as well. I was wondering at one
Like,
point,
was
is she working for Eon?
Yeah, I guess more generally, like, was she working for the government? Like, and then Eon became a concept of the government. So it's not that Stell knew about it, but that those people who he's fighting with.
Or like that board of people, maybe they were. Yeah.
Yeah, like previously they already knew about her. They were using her. And so they're trying to create Eon into the one.
Going off of that, do we know who Marcella's husband was working for? Did I miss that, or is that kind of
the
the
mob?
Same? Yeah, the mob. Okay.
Yeah,
and I think
I thought they
was
threw in mobster, but I know they were like generically calling her one, or if he actually like was.
No, he was working for the one. Remember in the scene when Marcella and June go together to the dude's house, and June is wearing a very young girl when they walk in. Okay. And Marcella says something along the lines of, I've killed all of these men, they know about it, and yet they still don't have any weapons when they let me in. Like, they're still underestimating me.
So misogynistic.
Yeah, exactly. That dude was the man who her husband.
Yeah, and it also mentions like 15 years in the past when she was at college with Marcus. It mentioned how he was in a mob family, so he wasn't like when they met, he wasn't actively part of it. But there was that one scene where he was getting a call, and he's like, "This is the point where I'm either in it or I try and run away."
Gotcha. Okay.
And she like convinced him to be a part of it because she wanted power. So it's like interesting that she is this all-encompassing, like looking for power supervillain, because I mean that was who she was first. Like, it's not like she became a supervillain and was like, "Ooh, power!" Like she's always been.
Definitely
like that, but
like there was no redeeming quality for her. She didn't do anything.
Yes,
for
that's
good.
what
It was
bothered
all
me.
Selfish and all for power.
All selfish. Exactly. Although,
sorry, just one last question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh wait,
I was just gonna say. Although, like her scenes, like you mentioned, those misogynistic comments. Like I love that we got those brought up. Like Marcella did some. There were some great scenes regarding Marcella and June. Talking about sexism, and that was
that was really, I did like that.
Yeah, because there was one part where Marcus calls her a beautiful thing, and she's like, I didn't realize at the time that he called me a thing.
Yes.
Like, and so okay, another random thought. So you know how Dr. Haverty, when he removed Eli's heart, he grew a new one? Okay, this is gonna sound really weird.
Oh, I think I already have the same question.
What if Dominic stepped out of time, cut Eli up into little pieces and scattered them everywhere? Which part would regrow?
The head, the rest of the body from the head.
But what if he cuts the head into little pieces?
Oh.
The brain and then the head.
I feel like I was actually wondering this because when Dominic got introduced, I was like, oh, this is how we're going to kill Eli, because that was exactly how I thought that he would die. Like I was getting a very Twilight, rip off the heads and burn the pieces type of vibe. Like he can't regrow everything. I mean, like if you took the brain apart and burned it, or even if you like cut them up and then burned all the pieces, like I feel like that would destroy his ability to regrow if he was just ash.
See, I kind of thought of like the thing that I know before Logan came out, how they were like, how do you kill Wolverine? And it's like for Eli, he can't die. He can't heal when the wound is still being inflicted. So I thought that they're just going to inflict so many different wounds that he just could not heal them all, like, and like leave them there. So there's so much like he just kind of on the short circuit overloading power thing that we know apparently does work. I thought that's how they were going to do it. So it's like, you're going to get like, a bunch of knives and stabbing and gunshot wounds and all stuff at once, so he couldn't heal them all, or like when he can, it was too much to heal.
Yeah. Talking about Victor and Eli possibly, having the end a different way where they do decide to like go their separate ways. Sorry, going way backwards into that conversation again. Yeah. It was interesting at the beginning of the book when Dominic is introduced. Dominic takes Victor into the scene to save Mitch. And Eli is right there for the killing. And Victor thinks about it, but he doesn't do it. And so I was like, well, why not? I mean, I remember they gave us a reason. I can't remember it right now. But I was like, does this mean that we're heading towards a resolution that doesn't involve them murdering each other?
Oh, wait. Was it because Wait, you're talking about the end, right?
No, towards the beginning of the of the book.
Yeah.
In the bar, they're finding Dominic.
That was in the end of the last book, I thought.
Okay, yeah. You're right. It is at the end of the last book. Sorry, but then they talk about it again in this book. I think maybe.
Okay.
They show us that scene again, or maybe I just put the two books together. I don't remember at this point. It's very possible it was at the end of that book only. Because I read them back to back, so
yeah,
I could.
And like we do get a few scenes like replicated in this one from Vicious, so I'm not sure if that was.
I'm just remembering that scene where, so it's in that bar. They're going to look for Dominic, but Eli also knows they're looking for Dominic. So this must have been in the last book because in this book he's in the box the whole time.
Yeah.
So Eli's in that bar too, and then Mitch goes in, not Victor, and then Mitch and Eli are in the bathroom, and Eli is like about to shoot Mitch or something.
Yeah.
Dominic steps out of time with Victor and goes and saves Mitch. And Eli is also frozen. And so
I think that was because they were trying to get rid of Serena first, I think, is why they didn't. Or there's something with Stell that like I know which part you're talking about. There was a reason why they couldn't just do it there, and it was some means to an end situation.
Okay.
Which one I'm forgetting.
Yeah, I knew there was a reason, not like, oh, I can't kill him here, but there was a reason. It made me consider the fact of like, oh, maybe this won't end in them killing each other.
I did think that, though. I thought that they were always going to have like some justified reason of not now. Like, I kind of was expecting that too. Like every time that was gonna happen, it's like there was one other goal that was more important, and there's gonna be so many of those. It's like never.
I am glad though that they both didn't survive this book. Like the fact that Eli is dead. I mean, I didn't necessarily know which one or if both were gonna die, but I was happy that at least one of them are dead because I was like, we can't end book 2 also with starting and not ending.
I do also like that Victor's not whole. Like he can go at any minute, so you kind of have this like question mark of is he on borrowed time? Is he gonna figure something out? Like I know he has the serums, but like we also know there's like a limited supply. He still has to like tweak them and like play with them. So there's always the fact that like something can still happen. He is still on borrowed time because of all of this. So and then like you kind of like do I be vulnerable and not have it or what? So I feel like that's a really also interesting place to end, even because it allows you to speculate like what potentially is gonna happen next.
Yeah, I just like how many. I like that it. Although okay, hold on. Words are not happening. Okay, the fact that Eli is dead, I was happy that they actually, finished that plot off of we're trying to kill each other. I'm glad that is like wrapped officially. But I also liked at the same time that there are so many storylines open that like, even if it's not that it's necessary for V.E. Schwab to decide to write another book, but it's open for her to do so, or just for us to speculate on like this world that exists.
I agree, but also it doesn't feel incomplete. Like it doesn't feel like a hard cutoff. It's like if they leave it here, I'm still satisfied with what happened, but I also wouldn't hate and feel like they have to like ruin established things to make another book.
Right. And she could easily, with the way that it ended, she could easily not follow any of the characters that we were previously following, but follow new EOs with still Stell, or Stell's new person because he retired, or
like follow Eon, or just follow like June's endeavors or something.
Yeah, there's like many ways that that she could potentially open this story back up, this world back up, I should say. Okay, what are our final thoughts? I think that it's time to wrap up. Do you guys agree?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's any last final thoughts before we end?
As someone that's still on a light hangover from Infinity Wars, this was such a fun play on the superhero tropes and superhero stories. Like it was really satisfying. It was really enjoyable to read about, and it took familiar stories, but put such a unique spin on them that I didn't feel like I had read this already. It's like, yeah, you can draw parallels with like X-Men and all these other ones, but it's not like I have already experienced the story. There was enough new about it, and the characters were so much fun that if people have not given it a read yet, check it out, especially if you are on a little bit of like a Marvel DC hangover right now. It might be a good way to like satisfy those urges. But also, this is my first ever Victoria Schwab book.
Oh.
Like, so this is such a fun introduction, and I'm now so excited to read more for stuff.
Vicious was my first Victoria Schwab book too.
I think I went relatively in publication order.
The Archived, I still haven't read it.
Yeah, I read The Near Witch first, actually.
Oh, I didn't even know there was something before The Archive. Anyone else final thoughts or opinions?
I really enjoyed it. I really appreciated that we got to go into more of the characters' stories, and I liked the addition of new characters, so it wasn't just like rehashing the same plot of Victor versus Eli in this one. There was a lot more going on. There was more people involved, and it was much more of a complex web. But yeah, it was a lot of It was a lot of fun.
Wulfie? I know you didn't like it. You can still say it. You can say what you feel.
I can't even really say that I didn't like it. It's just I didn't love it. Like I didn't like Eli in the first one, and so I liked the fact that you get to see more of like where he came from and get to know more of like his motive behind things. Because now it's more like I love to hate him and not just I hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Nice. I really like these books. I think Victoria Schwab did a great job, like Becky said, of taking, superheroes, which is a very common plot or like plot device, and then making a very unique story. And I absolutely love, especially in the first one, but still in the second one. Oh no. We lasted almost the entire time. Okay, it's quieting.
Okay.
I also, especially in the first book, but still in this one, I just love that there isn't a stark good versus evil in this story. A little bit less so in the second one, but I just love that. I love that we don't have a Voldemort-like character. I love that it's both of them are not really that good.
Yeah.
So I love that. And I loved that it wasn't like government evil against the general public like it often is in stories, especially revolving around like superhero stuff. That's like a very X-Men thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just liked that it was unique. And Victoria Schwab is queen as usual. So that's my final thoughts. Before we go, I do want to remind those that are watching that November Sassy Book Club book is A Very Large Expansive Sea, and we are live showing on December 14th, but I don't know the date, so you should go follow the Twitter Sassy Book Club so that you can find that out, because I'm a bad host. And coming up soon, we will be doing polls for what the December book will be. So if you want to vote on those, you should also follow Sassy Book Club, because that's where I post those. And tonight, Becky and I are in another live show. I'm hoping that I can come at 8 p.m. PST on Common Spence's channel, talking about Blue Lily, Lily Blue. So if you guys want another live show tonight, you can check that out tonight. And
it's a fun
that's
group
what's
of
happening.
people.
Yeah, Chelsea Darling reads, Becky, me, Rhiannon from Crescent Moon reads, and
Bex
from Common Spence. Oh, and Bex from Jesus Christ. There's a lot of us. Okay. So there they all are. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys later. Bye. Thanks for watching.